بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Let's get started with today's lesson on wal-Marjan from Kitab al-Siyam. 33rd chapter states باب أكل الناس وشربه وجماعه لا يفطر. حديث أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال إذا نسي فأكل وشرب فليتم صومه فإنما أطعمه الله وسقاه. Chapter 33 says eating, drinking, and sexual intercourse in forgetfulness does not break the fast. حديث أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال إذا نسي فأكل وشرب فليتم صومه فإنما أطعمه الله وسقاه. Hadith number 710 is narrated by Abu Hurairah رضي الله عنه. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said, if somebody eats or drinks forgetfully, then he should complete his sawm, for what he has eaten or drunk has been given to him by Allah. Has been given to him by Allah. So this chapter is discussing one of the possibilities, one of the different variables, one of the different things which could, to a large extent, happen to the human being, to the Muslim who is fasting. And that is the nature of the human being, and that is forgetfulness. Forgetting. And forgetfulness, because it is a staple part of the human being's makeup, the genetic makeup, the mind, stress, worry, etc. Forgetfulness is, it doesn't discriminate with regards to worship or religion. It doesn't discriminate. Rather, it's going to happen. It's going to take place. You can forget in worldly affairs. You can also forget in religious and spiritual affairs. And from that is the possibility, the probability, the plausibility of forgetting whilst fasting. Something which is so staple and basic to fasting, such as you can't eat, you can't drink, you cannot enjoy sexual intercourse. But because a person is a human being, he or she could forget. So what happens if and when your human nature kicks in? If and when, what do you do? What do you say? What is there to be done? That's the chapter heading. And that is the munasabah, the appropriate relativity of the chapter heading to the kitab, and the kitab to the whole entire book. All right? Kitab al-Siyam, a specific bab. And there, in this chapter heading, is an affirmation of one of the rulings of fasting. And one of the things which will and probably happen, and that is you falling victim at least once to your human nature, which is forgetfulness. As we have in the Quran and in Hadith, Allah tells about the story of Adam and how he forgot. The Prophet ﷺ tells his companions, I'm nothing more than a human being. So when I forget, remind me. We all forget. And we all lose track mentally at one point or another. Some of us forget more than others. Some of us have stronger memories, stronger ability to retain information more than others. Some of us actually go to the gym and work out and enhance our power of memory. Some of us enhance and increase our natural ability. Some of us are complacent with what we have, and the list goes on. The discussion of memory, of memorization, of being reminded, of forgetting, that's a long, long discussion in and by itself. Tayyib? So here we have one of the things which in most cases will happen at least once in a person's life, and that is when you forget that you were fasting. Right. Everybody understand this? Everybody clear on this, inshallah ta'ala? So what do you do? So the chapter heading states is that it does not break your fast, even if you ate or you drunk or you did other things. Then we have hadith number 710, which clearly states فَلْ يُتِمَّ. The hadith says فَلْ يُتِمَّ لَامُ الْأَمْرِ. This is an obligation, it's a command from the Prophet ﷺ to finish the fast. And if the Prophet commands you to finish the fast, then obviously the fast is not rendered null and void. It's not rendered null and void. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. One may come along and they may argue and they may say, well, maybe the fast was rendered null and void. Maybe the fast was broken, but because the day is sacred, because Ramadan is sacred, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has to, or Allah, He doesn't have to, but Allah promised us to forgive us. رَبَّنَا لَا تُؤَاخِذْنَا إِن نَسِينَا أَوْ أَخْطَأْنَا. We forget or we make a mistake, Allah, don't punish us. So therefore, just because you're not going to be punished, doesn't mean that the fast isn't rendered false. The Prophet says, finish the day just because the day is sacred. But the hadith clearly says, فَإِنَّمَا. Allah is the one who gave him food and who gave him what? Drink. All right? So that's with regards to systematically understanding the hadith, systematically and organically deducing and extracting from the hadith directly the wordings of the hadith, the Arabic language, along with the usul al-fiqh and the rules of extraction and deducement. Everybody clear on this? Inshallah ta'ala. That's first and foremost. Right. Moving forward. Now, another thing that we have here is that the hadith does not mention anything with regards to sexual intercourse that's done out of forgetfulness. The hadith mentions nothing about jima', even though that's in the chapter heading. So where is the one who made that chapter heading, which wasn't Imam al-Bukhari, and which was not Imam Muslim, where are they getting that from? And where are they taking that from? We're going to get there, bid'nillahi ta'ala. What's important is for you to notice and to have precise attention-paying skills. Is to notice and have precise attention-paying skills. Attention-paying skills. Even if you don't have the answer immediately, but you know that there is a discrepancy. Because there are 3 things mentioned in the chapter heading, and only 2 things mentioned in the hadith. So there is an inconsistency. Food and drink is mentioned in the hadith. Akala wa shariba. Eat or drunk. Eat or drink. That's it. At'amahu Allahu wa saqahu Allahu. Allah gave him food, Allah gave him drink. Nowhere does it state that Allah gave him intercourse. So there are 3 rulings in the chapter heading, only 2 things mentioned in the hadith. Where does Nawawi and other scholars who held this view, where are they taking that from? It says here in Al-Minhaj, it says, فيه دلالة لمذهب الأكثرين أن الصائم إذا أكل أو شرب أو جامع ناسيا لا يفطر. وممن قال بهذا الشافعي وأبو حنيفة وداود وآخرون. وقال ربيعة ومالك يفسد صومه وعليه القضاء دون الكفارة. وقال عطاء والأوزاعي والليث يجب القضاء في الجماع دون الأكل. وقال أحمد يجب في الجماع القضاء والكفارة ولا شيء في الأكل. Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, in this hadith is a clear proof for the view, the madhab of most of the jurists, most of the fuqaha, most of the scholars of Islam, and they say is that when a person forgets and they eat and they drink and they have sexual intercourse, the fast is still valid. The fast remains as long as it was done forgetfully. It wasn't an intentional violation and infringement upon the fast. So therefore, anyone who forgets and they do one of those 3 things, there's no problem, no issue, nothing to make up, nothing to pay, kalas. Everybody understand this? So that's what this hadith proves. Now the next step is what scholar took that view. What scholar made that his traditional madhab with regards to that? Ma dhahaba ilayhi. From the ulama who had this view and adopted this opinion was Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah, Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, Imam Dawood ibn Ali al-Zahiri rahimahullah. He says, وَآخَرُونَ, and others. Other scholars, they held that view. So that's the first opinion. Opinion number 2. Opinion number 2, he says, as far as Rabi'ah, obviously Rabi'atul Ra'i, the contemporary of Malik. As far as Imam Malik, rahimahullah, did Imam Malik study with Rabi'ah, or was he just contemporary? Al-Muhim, Rabi'ah is from the ulama and the fuqaha. He held the view is that the fast is null and void. The fast is broken. And you have to make up that day. But you do not have to pay an expiation. There is no kafara due, but qada is due. Everybody understand this? Opinion number 3 is the view that was adopted by Ata and Al-Awza'i, Layth ibn Sa'ad, these other great ulama, is that a person must make up the day when they make jima' intercourse, but they don't have to make up the day if they ate. If you had sex and unintentionally, forgetfully, you have to make up the day. If you forget to eat or drink, no problem. And then there's another view. The fourth view is the view adopted by Imam Ahmad rahimahullah ta'ala, and that is that a person has to make up the day and pay an expiation for forgetful sexual intercourse. Forgetful sexual intercourse, you have to make up that day. The day is ruined, and there's an expiation to pay. وَلَا شَيْءَ فِي الْأَكْلِ, and there's no expiation, no qada, nothing when it comes to unintentional eating and drinking. So there are four views. So what do we benefit from this today in 2020? Muslims living in Canada, UK, Australia, the United States, or wherever you live around the world, a Western country or an Eastern country. First thing is we learn and we observe from this speech is the reality is that there were far more than just 4 imams. There were not just 4 imams. There were not just 4 scholars of Islam that dominated and monopolized the Islamic thought and the law of Islam. The jurisprudence of Islam was not contained and monopolized only by 4 men. Rather, that is extremely ludicrous to even think that. In the time of Abu Hanifa alone, how many scholars lived and existed? That's just in Abu Hanifa's time. In the time of Imam Malik, in the region of Imam Malik, how many scholars existed? Do you know how many ulama there were? How many scholars of hadith and fiqh and qur'an? Tons, thousands. The time of Imam Shafi'i, thousands. The time of Imam Ahmed, countless ulama. So it is ludicrous for a person to think and to say is that Islamic jurisprudence is going to be restricted to just 4 schools and restricted to just 4 scholars. And obviously that is the breeding ground of fanaticism and of bigotry. Fanaticism and bigotry. Only my way, only my scholar. If Abu Hanifa doesn't accept it, then it's weak or abrogated. If Imam Malik didn't take the view, then there were no other scholars in Medina who did it. If Imam Shafi didn't take the view, then it's extreme. If Imam Ahmad didn't take the view, then he's not from Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. That's ta'assub. That's bigotry and that's fanaticism. And of course, these things, not only are they prohibited Islamically, but there are reasons behind the Muslim nation being picked off and victimized by its enemies. By our separating, our differing, our fighting, our internal wars. And it's very sad when a scholar behaves like this. When a scholar is fanatical, and a scholar is a bigot and a zealot, and his way is the only way, and all other ways are false and baseless. That's unfortunate. So therefore we see that first and foremost. And he who wants to become a true master of fiqh, he has to master comparative fiqh. And he who only has tunnel vision and only sticks to one madhab and one school, at best, his knowledge is going to be limited and confined at best, let alone actually flawed. Moving forward, we also see here how there are different interpretations of proof and evidence. So the view of Imam Ahmad, rahimahullah, Awza'i, Layth, Ata, obviously, intercourse is not mentioned in the hadith. It's not mentioned in the hadith. So therefore, they don't necessarily take that view because it's not mentioned in the hadith. Let alone the fact that, like we mentioned before, and we explained before, is that many scholars hold the view that it is impossible for a person to forget that he or she is fasting by having intercourse and to start and to finish. And obviously other scholars, they say no. It is possible and it can happen. Moving forward. Now, where are these scholars getting intercourse from if it's not mentioned in the hadith? Is there another hadith that states that? Do we have that? Or is this a usage of what we call al-qiyas, li'illatin jami'ah? They use an analytical comparison, an analytical template. And that is because the reason, the wisdom behind it, the rationale behind it is the same. A person is fasting, he's supposed to be conscious of Allah, mindful of Allah. Eating and drinking is prohibited until Maghrib comes. How can he eat and drink? Because he forgot. He normally eats in the morning. He normally has lunch. He normally opens up the refrigerator and raids the refrigerator. Takes some grapes or a bite of a sandwich or a piece of chicken that's cold in the pot, whatever the case may be. You open up the refrigerator, you just eat. You munch. You open up some pretzels, some chips, whatever the case may be. You're crunching and munching, you're eating throughout the day, normally. You're driving, You're on the road and you normally take a sip. Oh, subhanAllah, I forgot, it's Ramadan. It can happen. And they say, same applies to sexual intercourse. A human being could be victimized by a period or time of heedlessness. And it could happen. A man sees his wife, he normally goes to his wife, he gives his wife a hug and a kiss, and the next you know, he's overtaken by passion. It can happen. A woman, vice versa, it can happen. So they say that is why intercourse is mentioned in the ruling, even though the hadith only mentions the two things. And others, they say, rather, this is implausible. It's implausible. It can't happen. A person cannot forget that he's fasting and have intercourse and to start it and to go all the way through without some consciousness coming to his mind. Some they argue, and we explained this before with regards to the ulama holding the view, is it possible or not? Tayyib, khairan inshallah ta'ala. Tayyib. All right, let's move forward. We also see here the different fiqh details and why or what makes one madhab different from another. One opinion, one view different than another, right? All right, tight. Moving forward, we also benefit from this hadith is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all merciful and He's all kind and He's ever bountiful. Whereas He gives the servant something to eat and something to drink, even when the servant is supposed to be abstaining from food and drink. Tayyib. We also benefit from this hadith as the mercy and the kindness, the kind nature of the Sunnah, the Sharia, is that there's no need to kill yourself. There's no need to be depressed and to think that you're ruined and you're finished. And that's because you're human. You can and you will make mistakes. You can and you will make error. It's going to happen by the nature of the human being. So therefore, never ever take things to the extreme. Never go to the extreme. Extreme depression, chronic depression, suicidal thoughts, a person feeling hopeless and worthless, and a person feel like they can never ever add up or amount to anything is un-Islamic. It's un-Islamic. Khairan, inshallah ta'ala. Moving on to the next chapter. It says here, باب صيام النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في غير رمضان واستحباب أن لا يخلي شهرا عن صوم. حديث عائشة رضي الله تعالى عنها قالت كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يصوم حتى نقول لا يفطر ويفطر حتى نقول لا يصوم فما رأيت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم استكمل الصيام شهرا إلا رمضان وما رأيته أكثر الصيام منه في شعبان. حديث عائشة رضي الله عنها قالت لم يكن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يصوم شهرا أكثر من شعبان فإنه كان يصوم شعبان كله وكان يقول خذوا من العمل ما تطيقون فإن الله لا يمل حتى تملوا وأحب الصلاة إلى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ما دوم عليه وإن قلت. طيب. And I believe we read this chapter already, if I'm not mistaken, in the previous class. Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says regarding this chapter and regarding these hadiths, he says في هذه الأحاديث أنه يستحب أن لا يخلي شهرا من صيام وفيها أن صوم النفل غير مختص بزمان معين بل كل السنة صالحة له إلا رمضان والعيد والتشريق وقولها كان يصوم شعبان كله كان يصوم إلا قليلا. الثاني تفسير الأول وبيان أن قولها كله أي غالبه وقيل كان يصومه كله في وقت يصوم بعضه وفي سنة أخرى وقيل كان يصوم تارة من أوله وتارة من آخره وتارة بينهما وما يخلي منه شيئا بلا صيام لكن في سنين. وقيل في تخصيص شعبان بكثرة الصوم لكونه ترفع فيه أعمال العباد وقيل غير ذلك. فنقيل سيأتي قريبا في الحديث الآخر أن أفضل الصوم بعد رمضان صوم المحرم فكيف أكثر منه في شعبان دون المحرم. فالجواب لعله لم يعلم فضل المحرم إلا في آخر الحياة قبل التمكن من صومه أو لعله كان يعرض فيه أعذار تمنع من إكثار الصوم فيه كسفر ومرض وغيرهما. قال العلماء إنما لم يستكمل غير رمضان لئلا يظن وجوبه. طيب. He says these hadiths prove the following points. Number one is that the entire year is a place and an opportunity to fast. The entire year. And that there is no restriction of when you can make voluntary fasts. Except for Ramadan, there's no voluntary fasting in Ramadan. And except for the Eid and the days of Tashriq. Those days you're prohibited from fasting. You're not allowed to make voluntary fasts during those days. As far as the other days throughout the year, no problem. Fast as much as you want, as much as you like. There's no sin or no harm in that. Tayyib. Then when Aisha radiallahu anha has said, and this should show us, like we explained before, is that when we talk about the virtues of Ramadan, the superiority of Ramadan, the excellence of Ramadan, it does not mean that we should push the people thinking that Ramadan is the only time in which Allah is remembered and mentioned, and the only time the Muslim should suffer the pangs of hunger and the trials of thirst. Ramadan is not the only time in which there's suhoor. Ramadan should not be the only time in which there's iftar. Ramadan should not be the only time in which there is this and which there is that. And that's a problem. And oftentimes when we push the virtue of Ramadan and this beauty so much, we push it to the point in which you get the Muslims to just think of fasting is only in Ramadan. And that's a problem. So these hadiths clearly prove on the contrary. He says, rahimahullah ta'ala, when Aisha radiallahu anha said that he used to fast the entire month of Sha'ban, illa qalilan, except for a few days, then the hadith is self-explanatory. Aisha said the entire month, and what's meant by that is most of the month. So this is an example of the proper interpretation in the actual text. What's meant by the whole month is the majority of the month. And as we said before, interpretation with a proof and with a reason that's valid, that's scientific, is acceptable. As far as there's no reason for it, there's some vague general reason which is contradictory to other things that are affirmed. And as far as if there's no direct scientific proof that's accurate, then it's false. So what's meant by the entire month is most of the month. And if that wasn't the case, then we would understand it as the entire month ala dhahir, as it outwardly states. Moving forward. So some they say that what's meant by he used to fast the majority of the month, or most of the month, or all of the month, is that sometimes the Prophet ﷺ would fast all of it one year, and another year he would only fast some of it. That's one interpretation. And others, they say, sometimes he would start his voluntary fast from the beginning of Sha'ban, and another year will be in the end, and another year will be in the middle. And obviously that's going to cover the whole span of the month, right? And others, they say, is that tayyib. And then obviously this varies from year to year. Moving forward. Why did the Prophet ﷺ do this? Why did the Messenger of Allah ﷺ fast so much in the month of Sha'ban? He says here is that the deeds are raised to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there are other interpretations as well. And before we move forward, FYI, alhamdulillah, we've done sessions on this in which we explained in detail the fiqh of Sha'ban, fasting in the month of Sha'ban. Secondly, we benefit with regards to our aqidah, is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is most high. Subhana rabbika al-a'la. Sabbih isma rabbika al-a'la. Okay, that the deeds are what? They're elevated. They're taken up. To who? And for what? And for why? That Allah is above all of His creation. Subhanahu azza wa jal. يَخَافُونَ رَبَّهُمْ مِنْ فَوْقِهِمْ. Moving forward. Now, one may say, why is the month of Sha'ban so special, even though the Prophet ﷺ clearly mentioned that the best month after Ramadan is Shahrullah, is the month of Allah, Muharram? Isn't there a contradiction? How can the best fast after Ramadan be Muharram, but the Prophet never fasted all of Muharram? And he's documented to have fasted all of Sha'ban, and if not all of it, then most of Sha'ban. How does that make sense now? He says, some scholars, they say, is that perhaps the Prophet ﷺ was given that revelation, the virtue of Muharram, towards the end of his life. And him fasting in Sha'ban was in the early years, before the end of his life, his blessed life. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That's one interpretation. And others, they say, rather, there may have been excuses why he couldn't fast in Muharram as much as he fasted in Sha'ban, such as traveling, such as illness, or other things. And others, they say, that's the end of that. As far as why the Prophet ﷺ never fasted an entire month all of the time, was for the people not to believe and not to feel that it is obligatory, that you have to do it. And that's also something which is very paradoxical, and something that we oftentimes get the reverse effect, is that when we push the virtue of a thing, the ignorant people, they take it to the obligation of the thing. If you look at Ramadan, praying at night, Taraweeh, Tahajjud, etc., which is virtuous, no question about that. A special time. But the people they take into which you have to do it. You must fast. I mean, you must pray at night, every night in Ramadan. You must recite the Quran from Baqarah to Nas. So there's a difference between a virtue and between an obligatory ruling. All right? Khair inshallah ta'ala. And as we always promote here, the HadithDisciple, ignorance is never ever to dominate knowledge. And knowledge is never to compromise to ignorance. And we don't stop teaching the people and explaining to them things out of fear that the ignorant people will take it like this and take it like that. No. We give the wisdom, we explain it to the people, and at the same time we push it. We let the Sunnah go forth and we don't stop it. So an example of this is praying in shoes. You can't pray in shoes because the ignorant people, they won't understand, they won't accept it, they'll reject it, they won't get the idea, they'll soil the carpets. So therefore compromise the Sunnah for the ignoramuses. No. No. We teach them about the virtue, about the permissibility. We show them physically how to clean the shoes, kept the benefits of the shoes. And then we implement it. Those who want to jump on board, alhamdulillah, you're more than welcome. Cab driver comes into the masjid, the wudu station. Oh, brother, you can keep on your shoes. Really? I can pray in my shoes? Yes, the Prophet did it. The Prophet encouraged it, so on and so forth. I never knew that. My whole entire life is a Muslim. I came from India. I came from Turkey. I came from Guinea. I never knew that. Well, alhamdulillah, now you know. You've learned something. In America, alhamdulillah, land of opportunity. And if someone comes in, they want to fight, and they want to argue, and they want to abuse, you can't pray in your shoes, it's haram, only the shaitan prays in the shoes, you're a devil if you walk on the carpet in shoes, advise them. Akhi, brother, please, jazakallah khairan, shukran. Don't abuse any Muslims in this mosque, please. If you want to take off your shoes, that's fine. You don't want to wipe over your socks, that's fine. You can scrub your feet, that's fine. But do not verbally abuse a Muslim. You can make your wudu, you can offer your prayer, and go back to your cab. You can drive your cab, you're a taxi driver. No one in this mosque asked you for your scholarly opinion. No one. Nor does anyone care about your opinion. We never ever asked you what you think. And we never asked you what the people do in Turkey or India or Guinea. We don't care. Doesn't matter what your country or what your tradition states. Islam is Quran and Hadith. That's Islam. Nothing else. So if you want to learn, marhaba, ahlan wa sahlan, fadl akhi, come, sit, have some tea with us. You want to benefit, ahlan wa sahlan. You hold a different opinion, different scholars, that's fine. Just don't abuse. And you don't agree with it, it's wrong, it's evil, that's also fine. But in this masjid, this place, that is the rule. And that's what we follow, that's what we're going to practice. If you like it, you're welcome. And if you don't like it, you can have a nice day. The mosque is open to you. You take off your shoes, you pray with your socks, you roll up your trousers that are beneath your feet, the isbal, you do whatever you want to do. But don't impose your will upon the other people who do have the knowledge and who have the proper sources. And this, guys, is a worthy cause, a worthy struggle, and it's something that we have to always abide by, is that ignorance is never to dominate knowledge. Ignorance is not to dominate knowledge. We do not compromise to appease ignorant people. People who have full cups, people who never studied Islam properly, and people oftentimes, I want to say the facts, unfortunately, people who make their Islamic opinions based off of racism and prejudice. Because I come from Turkey, you're an American Muslim, you don't understand. You reverted to Islam. You don't understand. Islam has been my lineage for 800 years, 1,000 years, etc. So therefore, I'm automatically right in the argument. Because you come from a country or an orientation or the color of your skin, it's my job to reprimand you and to correct you. Even though I've shaven my face, which the Prophet prohibited, even though my pants are beneath my ankles, they're filled with dirt, which the Prophet prohibited, even though I'm wearing this type of gold ring, which the Prophet prohibited, even though it's my job to correct you, the young, ignorant, brainwashed Wahhabi. We can't allow that. And this is the responsibility and the duty of the Imams, is to teach the people the Sunnah, educate the people of the Sunnah, and enforce it. If the ignorant 9 to 5 Muslim wants to learn, I never knew that my whole life, alhamdulillah. And I'll end this by saying, once I was in Toronto, Canada, and alhamdulillah, we all know our brothers and sisters that we love in Toronto. Peace and blessings to all of them. And I did a khutbah, and I mentioned in the khutbah from the story of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, in which the Prophet ﷺ tells us about the intercession. And now the people will go to Ibrahim and will ask for Ibrahim to intercede, to ask Allah to commence the judgment. And Ibrahim, the veneration says, he talks about his lies, the times in which he lied. and he doesn't feel suited to ask Allah for such a sacred thing to commence the judgment. Go to such and such, go to such and such. So after I did the khutbah, I was approached by a man. It wasn't like as a scholar or something. He had a shaven beard, like an average Muslim. Maybe he was from Egypt or Lebanon or Palestine, one of those parts of the world from his appearance. He walked up to me in the hallway, and he wasn't disrespectful, alhamdulillah. He wasn't disrespectful. But I could feel, my intuition, my stomach, I could feel that he wanted not necessarily to fight, but he wanted to just butt heads a little bit. He wanted to lock horns just a little bit. He was a little uneasy about something that I said. So he gave me the salams. And of course, I have many experiences like this. I've had people come to class, heckle me, say that you're wrong, you don't know what you're talking about. And obviously there are reasons why. I'm young, I'm black, and I'm not teaching Islam in which the way they have seen it and that which they're used to. So therefore, it's our job to correct you. This is the reality. So he walked up to me, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh, Eksana, Hayakallah, Marhaba, Ahlan Sahlan. He said, Sheikh, is there a problem with something that you said in the khutbah? Can you help me out with it? I said, sure. Tafaddal. He said, you mentioned that Ibrahim lied. He says, you can't say that. And you shouldn't say that. And that's incorrect. I said, why is that? He says, it's Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, Khalilullah. What do you mean? He lied. So I told him, obviously, I gave him my proof and I gave him my evidence. In the Sahihain, Hadith Anas, Hadith Shifa'ah, this narration, kada. So he said, what? I said, yeah. He said, are you sure? I said, I'm more than sure, Sheikh. I'll show you where you wouldn't read it. He says, I've been to Kuwait, I've been to Saudi, I've been to Egypt, I've been to this country, I've been to that country, and I've never ever heard anyone mention what you're mentioning. And I simply said to the man, Alhamdulillah, now you have something from me to you for free. You've learned something new. And he thanked me and he walked off, and that was it. So the point is, someone who doesn't know and they're inquisitive, it's no problem. Someone who feels a little doubtful about an act, maybe these Americans or Canadians, they're young, they went to Saudi, a Saudi scholarship, maybe they really don't get it. And they ask, you sit down, you show them. As far as those who wish to impose and those who don't wish to accept knowledge is not restricted to a time or a place or race, then don't worry about them. Don't care for them. Don't argue for them. You have the proof. You have the evidence. There's no need to fear, to hide, to be afraid. The Prophet did it. He allowed it. Is the proper understanding of the scholars of Islam? Done. Over. You want to pray in your shoes? Alhamdulillah. You don't want to pray in your shoes? Ma salama. Peace. And that's it. It's just that simple. As far as bending and twisting the rules to keep them pleased and happy, that's a huge no-no. And the moment we do that, the Sunnah will become lost. And it'll become even stranger than what it already is. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for protection from this.